we go. Well, hey everybody. Welcome to TUBBS. How is everybody tonight? Yeah, starting off the new year. Coming to learn some more about Deuteronomy. Oh, I tell you, it feels like a long week. You know, like, I had yesterday off because of the weather. So as I was praying last night with the family, I'm like, I treated it like a Monday or a Sunday. Lord bless us as we go into this new week. Oh, man. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad y'all are here. Glad you chose to come here on a Wednesday in the exciting town of Rockwood, where there's so many other activities you could be doing, like Jeopardy, reruns of Judge Judy. You're a little too excited about this, Vicky. Gosh. I've trained my entire life for this. Yep, it's going to be like images in scripture for 500. Who got knocked off their donkey on the road to Damascus? Oh, I got this!
Saul of Tarsus. Oh, not in a question. Oh. Who is Saul of Tarsus?
All right. Well, before we get into this, I think we're going to have some fun tonight. Let's go to the Lord with some prayer here. Lord, thank you for this time to come together, and thank you for this place to come together in and get out of this cold. Lord, please keep us warm as we enter into a very cold week next week, and keep everyone else out there in the community warm as well. Lord, please open our hearts to be receptive to what you're trying to tell us tonight, and how we can go from the Old Testament to the New Testament and like interrelate both of them, because really the whole story is about Jesus Christ, Lord. So as we learn more about you in the Old Testament, we're going to see how that correlates to the New Testament. So please be with us in this time, and bless this time we spend together. Amen. All right. So it's kind of a short chapter, but we might get into a little bit of next chapter. Yeah. So Deuteronomy 25. This is Moses going over again just some like last second laws, or like as I kind of see it, what you yell at your kids as they're headed out the door. Don't forget. Gone. All right, so Deuteronomy 25, 1 through 3. If there is a dispute between men and they go to court, and the judges decide their case, and they justify the righteous and condemn the wicked, then it shall be, if the wicked man deserves to be beaten, the judge shall make him lie down and be beaten in his presence, with the number of stripes according to his guilt. He may beat him 40 times, but no more, so that he does not beat him with many more stripes than these, and your brother is not degraded in your eyes. Now, other translations say disgraced there instead of degraded. But the idea is that the punishment, there needs some limits on punishment. What's that? Blotted. Okay. Interesting. So, here kind of lays out really the core purpose of a government or courts, really, is to justify the righteous and condemn the guilty. But I know, especially like we've seen on TV and those crime shows and stuff, we've seen people who are just like, they're guilty of sin, but they just cannot come up with enough evidence to like condemn them. So it's interesting, which I think is really why it says, vengeance is the Lord's, because there's some things we're really not going to get to the bottom of. or some things that are unknowable for us. But, like, punishment used in its proper context is a good thing on the behalf of the government. Used in the wrong context, it's tyranny. So, I think we can kind of think back, and we won't give James the spotlight here, but he's like, tyranny. And another thing that's kind of puts in place here is that some people are wicked and deserve to be beaten to punish the evil and wickedness. So, it's kind of, it looks here like God's in favor of corporal punishment. So, what is it? Paul used this as part of his, like, how to describe it? Kind of like his gold stars for being an apostle. He's like, I've been beaten, 40 stripes minus one 3 times. And they used to only ever whip someone 39 times just to protect against a miscount, interestingly enough. So, let's see. Now, here's another interesting part of this. Beaten in the judge's presence, so the judge can make sure the punishment is just. So, what do you guys think about that? Yeah. But I think it's interesting. It's like the judges can't just condemn someone as guilty and then wash their hands of it. They need to see it. Mm-hmm. Exactly. If you can pass the judgment, you should be able to withstand seeing the judgment carried out. And I think that's very important because, like, as a couple chapters back in Deuteronomy, we had that scripture where the parents would seize their child and take him before the elders. They had to be willing to bear it out. And we also have earlier in Deuteronomy, the witnesses who are going to be witness to condemning someone for adultery or whatever, something deserving of death, had to be the ones to cast the first stones. So they have to be willing, and not a lot of people can stomach that. And beyond reproach is a very good thing there. So, using this here, it's referenced in Romans chapter 13, verse 14. So we'll turn here real quick. All right, Romans 13, verse 14. Did I write this correctly? It's not the one I'm thinking of. No, it's the verse I'm thinking of is the courts are put here for your protection and for your good. Oh, yep. So here, verse 4. Man, you gosh. See, did you guys know there's going to be a test today? Yeah. That was close enough. But you guys, you guys know what I mean. Referring to this in its proper context, the governments and the people in power are put there for your own good. And if you're doing good things, you have nothing to worry about. If you're doing wickedness, you have the opportunity to be beaten. So, kind of where I was going with that. One free. refer to that. So, any questions on that part? Any thoughts or comments on that? All right. Well, then, Deuteronomy 25, verse 4. You shall not muzzle the ox while he is threshing. Does this apply to anybody's daily life today? Do you guys muzzle your ox while threshing? No, no problems. Do you guys know what? Do you guys know what this is referring to? There we go. My pops, he was there when this law was written. Yes, so with when the grain is being tread by an ox, it's breaking the grain out of the husk by walking on it. So this law is to prevent the ox from working on the food all day and not being able to eat any of its, fruits of its labor. So it's seen as kind of cruel and unusual punishment. So just another example here of, being good to our animals, even if they are a beast of burden. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. 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 This is fair treatment for everybody. Just like I believe in the last chapter of Deuteronomy or the one before, is, give your worker his wages when they are due because he sets his heart on it. The ox going around in a circle all day crushing wheat probably has his heart set on some of that grain. But who knows? Maybe grain back then was like ground beef today. Must heat to 165 degrees. Put the nutrients back in the soil. Oh. But going off of James's point here, if we turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 9, there is more to this. I hope I wrote down this reference right too. Yes, 9:9. So you must be correct if Fred already knows where I'm going with this. And this is most likely to what James was referring to anyways. So 1 Corinthians 9 through 14. For it is written in the law of Moses, you shall not muzzle the ox while he is threshing. God is not concerned about the oxen, is he? Or is he speaking altogether for our sake? There's James right there. Yes, for our sake it was written, because the plowman ought to plow in hope, and the thresher to thresh in hope of sharing the crops. If we sowed spiritual things in you, is it too much if we reap material things from you? If others share the right over you, do we not more? Nevertheless, we did not use this right, but endure all things, so that we will have caused no hindrance in the gospel of Christ. Do you not know that these who perform sacred services eat the food of the temple, and those who attend regularly the altar also have their fair share from the altar? So also the Lord directed those who proclaim the gospel to get their living from the gospel. So much of what James was saying here, it's written for dual purposes. Fair treatment of animals, treating everyone fairly, and then making the case for really kind of the way we treat each other, and for those who take issue with people who are in ministry full-time getting paid on ministry full-time. Must admit that's kind of hard for me because I kind of believe that what we have going here, no one on staff is paid, and I think it works out really well because there's no incentive, to pervert the message. Yeah, if there's no incentives, they can't be perverted because there's no incentives. So that's just my opinion. But that's why I like how we run things here at Bible Biker Church. So, any questions on that part? Nope. All right. Now the meat of the message here. Verse Deuteronomy 25, 5 through 10. When brothers live together and one of them dies and has no son, the wife of the deceased shall not be married outside the family to a strange man. Her husband's brother shall go into her and make her to himself as a wife and perform the duty of a husband's brother to her. It shall be that the firstborn whom she bears shall assume the name of his dead brother, so that his name will not be blotted out from Israel. But now if a man does not desire his brother to take his brother's wife, then his brother's wife shall go out to the gate to the elders and say, my brother refuses to establish a name for his brother in Israel. He is not willing to perform the duty of a husband's brother to me. Then the elders of the city shall summon him and speak to him. And if he persists and says, I do not desire to take her, then his brother's wife shall come to him in the sight of the elders and pull his sandal off his foot and spit in his face, and she shall declare, thus it is done to the man who does not build up his brother's house. In Israel his name shall be called the house of him whose sandal is removed. All right, we got a hand up in the back. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep, the Levirate law. And it's interesting here because just as Fred said, the word son can also be interpreted as child, because in Numbers 27 verses 1 through 8, daughters can get inheritance. So let's go ahead and turn to that real quick. Numbers 27 verses 1 through 8. All right. Numbers 27, 1 through 8. Then the daughters of Zelophehad, the son of Hepher, the son of Gilead, the son of Manchir, the son of Manasseh, and the families of Manasseh, and the son of Joseph came near, and these are the names of his daughters. Mahalah, Noah, Haglah, Milcah, and Tyra. They stood before Moses, before Eleazar the priest, and before the leaders of all the congregation at the doorway to the tent of meeting, saying, Our father died in the wilderness, yet he was not among the company of those who gathered themselves together against the Lord in the company of Korah, for Korah's rebellion. He died in his own sin, and he had no sons. Why should the name of our father be withdrawn from among his family because he had no son? Give us a possession among our father's brothers. So Moses brought their case before the Lord. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, The daughters of Zelophehad are right in their statements. You shall surely give them a hereditary possession among their father's brothers, and you shall transfer the inheritance of their father to them. Further, you shall speak to the sons of Israel, saying, If a man dies and has no son, then you shall transfer his inheritance to his daughter. So that's already enshrined in law at this time. So this is just kind of a continuation on that. And in ancient Israel, it saw it as a great problem to not have a son to carry on the family name, hence the law. And as Fred points out, at this point in time, it's a male-dominated society. But it's still open to the daughters, if that's all they had. You know, because really it's God's will at the end of the day. You don't get to choose what gender your kid's going to be. Well, I mean, remember when they threw a shoe at George Bush? Like, that was all over the news for forever. Yep. Yep. Well, yep. Well, and it's public humiliation if none of the brothers would step up for their deceased brother to build up his household. You know, the Israelites are supposed to build each other up, you know, and this is really just, hey, you know, no one's going to step up. Um, so what do we think about the inheritance rights of today? Yeah. Yep. Yep. So it's still the firstborn. That's crazy. Get a will. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Too good. Yep. I still think the craziest thing about inheritance is having to pay tax on it. Yeah. No. All right. So now that we're through that part, now we get to the fun part, or weird in some context. All right. Deuteronomy 25, verses 11 and 12. If two men, a man and his countrymen, are struggling together, and the wife of one comes near to deliver her husband from the hand of one who is striking him, puts out her hand and seizes his genitals, then you shall cut off her hand. You shall not show pity. What? So it's interesting because, like, on one hand, you can take it as don't interfere in your husband's fights. On the other hand, it's you can interfere in your husband's fights, but don't grab the other guy's genitals. So everything else is on the table. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting that this isn't trained in law because this means this has happened at least more than once. So, so why do you guys think this would be in the law? There we go. Because offspring are so important, maybe this is to prevent issues from the fight preventing offspring. Because it would be really easy if kids are so important for, like, you get in this fight years ago and you just can't have kids now. It's always in the back of your mind. Might drive a man to murder someone or lead to worse or bigger sin than just the tussle over whatever it was about. Or, I mean, the other option would be maybe it's to protect the modesty and integrity of the woman. It's just like, yeah, yeah. So just kind of a thought there. Or you'll be all left. Any other thoughts on that one, guys? No? All right. verses 13 through 16. You shall not have in your bag differing weights, large and small. You shall not have in your house differing measures, large and small. You shall have a full and just weight. You shall have a full and just measure, that your days may be prolonged in the land which the Lord your God gives you. For everyone who does these things, and everyone who acts unjustly, is an abomination to the Lord your God. All right. So, what do you guys think about this? Well, yeah. Yep, thumb on the scale, yep. Yep, yep. Or getting a pomegranate at self-checkout and ringing it up as a single banana. Hey, I'm just saying, you know. Well, I mean, I just thought it sounded exotic. Avocado, ringing an avocado up as a banana. Yes, all different ways. So don't cheat the scales. Be honest and forthright. Yep. Oh yeah. But cheating one person in Israel affected everyone. Just like with the sins of the brothers who took some of that gold from the Canaanites, affected the entire nation. So, like, if everyone in Israel is trying to one up and cheat each other, the whole nation's just going to go down the toilet. So this has to be enshrined in law. Don't cheat the scales. Yeah. Well, and because Israel's to be a nation set apart, they need to rely on God, but also rely on each other. So if they're cheating each other, it's like cutting the foot off of one end of a blanket, sewing it to the other end, and being convinced you have a longer blanket. Like daylight savings time, yes. Yep, money changers at the temple, yep. Cheating each other. Oh, your sacrifice isn't unblemished enough. We took some white out to the fur of this one over here, so it's now unblemished. So, or the old saying, robbing Peter to pay Paul. All they did was hurt themselves. So, any other thoughts on that one? All right. You guys remember the Amalek? No? Amalek. Oh, well, here in verse 17, remember what Amalek did to you along the way when you came out of Egypt, and how he met you along the way and attacked you? Attacked among you all the stragglers at your rear, when you were faint and weary, and he did not fear God. Therefore it shall come about, when the Lord your God has given you rest from all your surrounding enemies, in the land which the Lord your God gives you as an inheritance to possess, he shall blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven. You must not forget. So, if we turn back to Exodus 17, 8 through 16, we'll go over what they did. Exodus 17. All right. Exodus 17, 8 through 16. Amalek fought is the subtext mine has for this. Then Amalek came and fought against Israel at Rephidim. So Moses said to Joshua, choose men for us and go out and fight against Amalek. Tomorrow I will station myself on the top of the hill with the staff of God in my hand. Joshua did as Moses told him and fought against Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. So it came about when Moses held his hand up that Israel prevailed, and when he let his hand down, Amalek prevailed. But then Moses' hands were heavy, so they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it, and Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one on one side, one on the other. Thus his hands were steady until the sun set. So Joshua overwhelmed Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. A little bit more here. Then the Lord said to Moses, write this in a book as a memorial and recite it to Joshua, that I will utterly blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven. Moses built an altar and named it, The Lord is my banner. And he said, the Lord has sworn the Lord will have war against Amalek from generation to generation. So this is kind of a restatement of that, because they're getting ready to enter the promised land, freed from all their enemies for the time being. So they're going to have to go do this. Now, what does Israel do? Not that. So, if we turn to 1 Samuel 15, this is it's interesting, because I believe there's about 400 years between this time and when they're finally destroyed, if I remember correctly. 1 Samuel 15, verses 2 through 9. Come on. All right. So, thus says the Lord of hosts, I will punish Amalek for what he did to Israel, and how he set himself against him on the way he was coming up from Egypt. Now go and strike Amalek and utterly destroy all that he has, and do not spare him, but put to death both man and woman and child and infant and ox and sheep and camel and donkey and partridge and pear tree, all the stuff. Then Saul summoned the people and numbered them in Telahim, 200,000 foot soldiers and 10,000 men of Judah. Saul came back to the city of Amalek and set an ambush in the valley. Saul said to the Kenites, go down from among the Amalekites, so that I do not destroy you with them, for you showed kindness to all the sons of Israel when they came up from Egypt. So the Canaanites departed from among the Amalekites. So Saul defeated the Amalekites from Hivilah as you go to Shur, which is east of Egypt. He captured Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. But Saul and the people spared Agag and the best of the sheep, the oxen, the fatlings, the lambs, and all that was good. They were not willing to destroy them utterly. But with everything despised and worthless, they utterly destroyed. Oh, that's me. I'm the fatling. Yeah, that's what I wanted to go through there. And now, if we go to 1 Samuel 28:18, because they did not destroy everything they were supposed to destroy as commanded by the Lord. Yes, they did. So 18 here. As you did not obey the Lord and did not execute his fierce wrath on Amalek, so the Lord has done this thing to you this day. Oh, no. So, that's their kind of punishment for that. But a lot of people see Amalek could be as an analogy for our flesh, make war until conquered. You know, don't spare a little sin here or there. You know, you make war on it until you conquer your flesh. But all the way in 1 Chronicles 4, verse 43, we'll finally see them carry this out and fully destroy the Amalekites. So, yes, James. hmm Well, sins and flesh is what I meant to be interchangeable there. Oh, come on, there we go. 24. All right, guys, my pages here. No. First Chronicles, chapter 4, verse 43. This one took me a minute to find because Chronicles is a lot of descendants and stuff. So First Chronicles 4, verse 43. And this is the sons of Simeon. They destroyed the remnant of the Amalekites who escaped and have lived there to this day. So finally, they obeyed. But it took a long time, especially with King Saul. So any questions on that part? All right. Well, I think we'll probably do well to have a little bit shorter one today. Do you have anything to say, Fred? You look pensive. Oh, yeah. Yep. Those who fail to learn history repeat it. Very true. Then humans are cyclical. And this is why I keep going over this, because like the heart of man fundamentally has not changed. That's why we need an outside force to help guide us and correct us and build us and rebuke us and encourage us. All those things. All right. Well, I think that's all I have for you. Is it this Friday, Pray and Play? Pray and Play Friday? Okay. All right. Yep. All right. So this Friday at 6, we have Pray and Play from 6, I don't know, to 7:30 around there. Just come, worship, hang out, have fun. And then this Sunday we have a council meeting for the council members. And then after that we have game day here at the church. And we have regular Sunday service at 11 a.m. And then it's just and pizza, food, the most eatenest church. So, and then next Wednesday, more Deuteronomy chapter 25 or 26. All right. And that's all I have for you guys. We're going to enter into personal and private prayer request.